Hello, YouTube. How's it going? It's Tristan again. I'm recording another video. I'm kind of finding it really useful for me to do these things, even if it's just for myself. My hope is that I think I can, I would like to like record videos and have other people see them. But for the time being, it's just like really, I found that it's useful for me to do these videos. It was really useful for me to do that last one where I was like freaking out for Yoshi and Ava's wedding. Everything turned out really good because I ran into an old friend from college who's also an actor, and it was so good to catch up with him. It was a really good experience, and I actually discovered that the reason I kept seeing all these people in suits when the wedding invitation specifically said not too formal, not too casual, was there were other weddings going on in the same building, and some other wedding everybody was just being broy and dressed to the nines, and it was super laid back, and I wasn't underdressed for Yoshi and Ava's, and like 4 people brought gifts, so everything turned out good. But anyway, yeah, I like doing these videos. One of the things that I noticed when I rewatched that last one, the other one I shot in the car before the wedding, one of the things that I liked about doing it was that, and everybody experiences this when you watch yourself on film. I know this because I'm an actor. I'm sorry. That's so twatty. When you watch yourself on film, you notice like the little ticks and weird eccentricities that you have that everybody else notices about you, but that maybe kind of go over your head. And I noticed how in that video, I was just like freaking out about really dumb shit. And I was just very preoccupied in my own head with what I perceived to be other people's sort of judgment of me. And it's just like, that's a natural part of my personality, and it's always I have to constantly remind myself that all of that crap about like being perfectionistic and all of that like being really hard on myself, that's in my head. That's coming from me. That's not what other people are projecting. One of the things, and actually one of the things that I'm really interested in on YouTube is talking about Myers Briggs Personality Typology, or whatever. Because I don't like the word typology. I think typology is it sounds like a word that a politician would make up, like for their political campaign. I apologize for the lighting, by the way, just as an aside. I know that it's horrible. Somehow in the last video it looked pretty good, but I'm looking at it now and it looks horrible. The sun's going down, and it's just the lighting is really. It was way worse before I put the shade down, for the record. This is the best I can do. I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, typology or whatever you want to call it. Myers-Briggs personality tests, for people who don't know what they are, it's basically a way of. It's based on Carl Jung's ideas about analytical psychology and how people can fall into different categories and types. And there are many different psychologists who have tried to do this. But the Myers-Briggs system is basically, it categorizes all the different personality types into 16 areas. And there are 4 different variables, basically, that you can possibly be assigned. The first one is E versus I, which is extroverted versus introverted. Second one is N versus S, which is intuition versus sensing. The third one is F versus T, feeling versus thinking. And then P versus J, which is perception versus judgment. And so based on all those different factors, you either fall into one category, because basically it's all based on functions within your brain. So, usually you lean more towards one or the other, though, I'm sure if you really wanted to get into it, you could argue that some people fall in between. Whatever. I don't really care about that. To be honest, I actually know very little about the actual science or even the scientific legitimacy of Myers-Briggs. I don't know if psychologists actually consider it to be valid. I have found, however, that it's like extraordinarily useful for me. My type is INFP, which means introverted, intuition, feeling, and perception. So the primary function in my brain is introverted feeling, and that's a trait that's unique to INFPs. I'm very sensitive. I'm often very shy. I've gotten pretty good at faking the whole shyness thing, but it's draining for me to interact with other people. And the sort of outgoing kind of thing that I'm doing for this video, it's only because there's no one else in this car with me. You know, like when I'm talking to another person, it's very different. I'm much more reserved and shy, especially when I'm interacting with more than one person. Like big groups of people, it's horrible. It's so hard for me. So I'm very shy. I'm very emotional. I am very self-aware, very self-critical, very perfectionist, which is typical of INFPs. I'm generally a lone wolf. I usually kind of would rather do my own thing. But at the same time, I'm incredibly empathetic. The people who I am close to, I have immense affection and care and love for. Yeah, so that's just, you know, I'd like to do another video at some point about the specifics of being an INFP and, you know, how it's relevant to me. But I just want to sort of, you know, do this video and talk about Myers-Briggs in general. Like I say, I'm not an expert on it by any stretch of the imagination. There are other people on YouTube who I really enjoy watching, who really seem to know a lot, and who it looks like they've studied it in depth. I really like NF Geeks in their videos. They get really in depth. And it's fun to hear them talk about it, because it sounds like they know what they're talking about, which I don't at all. But you know, I just find it to be interesting as a way of evaluating myself. And since I stumbled across Myers-Briggs on Facebook, because some friend of mine had posted some random thing on a friend's wall about like, oh, we share this personality type. That's so cool, huh? Yeah, it's so cool. Anyone else who wants to find out their personality type, here's a link, you know. So because I was bored, I was just like, alright, I guess I'll do it. It's probably gonna be stupid, but whatever. I'll do it anyway. So I did it, and at first I was like, oh, this is really dumb, INFP, I'm an INFP. And then I looked into it, and I started understanding and recognizing all of these things that INFPs very often have. And it just, the Myers-Briggs personality test, I guess here's my summarizing point. It's not for everybody. I don't even know if it's scientifically legitimate, but it's incredibly useful for me as a way of recognizing and coping how I am personality-wise, and the way that I feel, and the way that I often feel isolated, and have felt misunderstood for my entire life. It's such a relief to be like, that's because I'm an INFP. That's often how INFPs feel. We're you know, there aren't very many of us, and because we're so reserved and introverted, we often don't interact with each other. So, you know, and it's not for everybody. Like I talked to my brother about this. I was like, dude, I've been thinking a lot about Myers-Briggs. And he just straight up was like, yeah, my counselor made me do that once. It was stupid. It was stupid because they like made me pick one type. Like, I don't want to just be one type. I don't want to be written into one box, man. And I was like, whatever, it's fine. I think he's an ENFJ. I'm pretty sure he's an ENFJ. He's yeah. Well, we can do we'll do a different video about my family and what types I think they are. I actually don't like trying to figure out what type my friends and family are. It's just like it's an incredible it's an enormous waste of time, you know, because it's their business, and you know, like I say, it's not for everybody, and not everybody wants to have their brain and personality examined or analyzed. You know, it's just it's something that it's fun to kind of wonder about. You know, and I'm curious what my friends and family members' personality types are, but you know, it's really not relevant to our relationships. What's relevant is you know, how I self-identify, and how learning about INFPs and other INFPs, you know, who have struggled with being an INFP. You know, many INFPs have died young, like John Lennon, or committed suicide, like Kurt Cobain and Ian Curtis, and you know, all these people who are generally regarded to be INFPs. You know, sometimes life can be very difficult for them, and I find comfort in that because, you know, it's hard for me. It's often very hard for me to live my life, and understanding that this is how I am, and that there are many other people throughout history who have had these same struggles, and who have felt the same sort of social isolation, and felt the same confusion that other people don't have this inner emotional thing. You know, NF Geeks, they just recently did a video where they talked about how NF types generally feel like they get shit on by the rest of the world because everybody has a really cynical attitude about attitude. Yeah, wear that hat backwards. Attitude. That's a real word. I just made it up right now. A lot of times we get this attitude from the rest of the world that, you know, why are you being so emotional about this? Why are you being a spaz? Why can't you just deal with the realities of the world like everybody else does? So it's nice. I guess I'm trying to express that it's really helpful for me to understand that I'm not alone, that there are other people who have the same personality quirks that I do, and that it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy being an INFP. It really isn't. But that it's normal. That's the big thing. It's normal. It's uncommon, but it's normal. So anyway, yeah, I'd like to do other videos about INFP stuff, and obviously about other stuff in my life. And hopefully, you know, depending on how much time I have and how much will I can put into preparing material for a video. Often these things tend to be just rambling. I had like an itinerary printed out here, which I didn't follow at all, and you can tell because I'm 13 minutes into this video and it's too long, so I'm going to stop now. But the point is, I'm going to try to get better at like organizing a list of specific things to talk about so that these are like coherent and useful. Yeah, hopefully in a few days I'll feel up for another one of these. And until then, au revoir. Have a fantastic evening, if it's evening where you are and when you are watching this. It's evening right now for me, but I don't know, you might watch this in the morning. You might watch this at 3 a.m. You might watch it in the middle of the day. I don't know. I don't control your life. You can do what you want. You're a free person. And where I live in the United States of America, it is a free country. So you don't even have to watch this video. You can take your computer and throw it in the river if you want. Just be like, I don't fucking want to watch this guy's video. I'm gonna destroy this $1,000 piece of machinery that I use for stuff other than watching videos. Go ahead and do that if you want. Or you can watch this video and hear me talk about myself and how interesting I am and how attractive I am. Alright. Okay, enough of this bullshit. I'm done.